We've been living through a very terrible time. Awful. COVID is horrible. But you know what else is horrible? The movie What Lies Below.
Well, how was camp? Any good digs?
Yeah, some.
We're here!
Hey!
This is my boyfriend, John.
It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
I mean, this movie and COVID are pretty much neck and neck when it comes to the atrocities that we have seen before our very eyes. But since we're in this COVID climate, I actually did research on some good thrillers to watch because, I value every moment of my life now way more than I used to. So I wanted to see a good thriller that would be an investment in my time and entertainment. So I'm looking for films and I come across this movie, What Lies Below. And I'm thinking, cool, this may be a spin-off of the movie What Lies Beneath, which is a great film with Harrison Ford. So I watched the trailer. I'm like, okay, wow, this looks pretty good. And I watch it, and about a quarter of the way in, I start having a problem. This movie is about a 16-year-old girl who returns home from camp and learns that her mother has a new boyfriend who is very cute, very handsome, and probably would be what some would say is out of her league. But the guy is charming and he's smart and he's good looking. But as the movie goes on, we find something is really wrong with this dude by the name of John. And this is pretty much what happens every time you meet a smoking hot guy who is charming and smart. You just cannot have all of these characteristics in one person and not have some major problems on the back end. If it's too good to be true, it just probably is. So, this mom introduces her daughter, Liberty, to this guy named John. And he is just too much right from the start. Like, he literally chokes on a piece of lettuce during dinner and almost dies. And, like, who dies choking on a piece of lettuce? It's just ridiculous. But this is actually, I think, supposed to be a breadcrumb to lead us into who this guy really is. But the problem is, they never explain what the hell is going on. So the mom, she is head over heels in love with this guy. And I mean, she is just the epitome of a thirsty female. Anything John does, anything he says is just great. So her daughter Liberty is skeptical of this guy at first, which she should be. But then, she spends some time with him and she starts to like him. And the way the movie kind of progresses in its editing, it really makes you feel like Liberty at some point is trying to compete with her mom for this man, which honestly, I think should have been the direction that this movie went because the direction that it actually took made this movie literally unbearable. They went so far off the path and it just left you feeling like WTF, like I just wasted 2 hours of my life. So let's start with what was right with this movie. And believe me, there's not much there. Let's talk about it. So the cinematography was really good. I liked the lighting a lot. Very good use of camera angles. And the casting, I think, was really good. Liberty and her mom definitely looked like they were mother and daughter. The actor who played John, Trey Tucker, he played a really convincing, charming psycho. And he was pretty good eye candy, for the ladies, yes. But not even this eye candy was enough to save this film. First of all, I just have to say, thirsty and desperate females just make me angry to my core. Like, it's so hard for me to watch a film when the lead character or any of the supporting characters that's getting a lot of screen time is a weak female. But I hung in there thinking, okay, eventually they'll snap out of this. They'll stop being desperate. The situation will make them have to woman up. But it did not happen. This mom stayed stigmatized all the way until the end, where she was tied up in 100-gallon fish tank and forced to have a sea creature baby. And we never even saw or understood what happened to the baby. Like, what was the purpose of this? And apparently, John was only courting this mother because he wanted to procreate with her and create these sea monster creatures. I don't even know what it was. He was so mad that she told him that she was 6 years younger than she actually was. I mean, obviously, nobody told John that there are 60-year-olds out here getting it, becoming new moms, okay? Age ain't nothing but a number. These cougars can make it happen. But anyways, Liberty starts to suspect something is weird about John. They go for this canoe ride. And this is when she really kind of figures this guy is not what he is trying to appear to be. And he straight does a Trump access Hollywood move on her and grabs her by the pussy. But the way it was shot, it was like this was beyond a Trump move. Like, it was like suddenly there was like blood and then this like slither leech thing that traveled out from between her legs. And so you're like, is this girl on her period, or did a bloody leech just like crawl out of her vagina? I mean, was John trying to help her? Like, I don't understand what was happening. Like, this was probably the weirdest and most confusing and uncomfortable part of the whole film. Like, I honestly don't know what I actually saw. I don't know what this movie was trying to do by showing us this and not being clear on what the hell was happening and what the characters' intentions were. It just started to feel like a bootleg Species film. So this Access Hollywood event happens, and he's like, oh no, it's okay, it's natural. And then he licks the blood they got on his hands, and he's like, it's okay, we're scientists. What? What in the hell does this licking period blood have to do with science? Like, I'm seriously struggling on how to proceed forward with this review on this movie right now. So she goes back to the house and takes a shower, gets cleaned up, and he's all stalking her from behind the shower curtain. And of course, she doesn't realize he's behind the shower curtain until he actually sneaks out of the room. But he's like smelling her drawers and like really being extra weird behind this curtain. So this happens and she never tells her mom. She actually calls her bestie instead, who's this black girl, and she tells her friend like, "Hey, come over." And her friend comes over and she tells her friend what happened, except for the blood licking part, which I just still I'm just not understanding why that was in the film. So The friend is like, what the hell? Like, basically reacting how a normal person would react. And was like, did you tell your mom? And she's like, no, I didn't tell my mom. So her friend has to be the courageous one to tell her mom, who was sick at this point because she's pregnant. And because of her, the best friend ends up getting killed. And the mom is pregnant because literally this whole film, up until the point where she is like chained up to a fish tank, her and John are like getting their groove on. Like that's all she is about is John. So instead of calling the police, Liberty calls her friend. And I'm like, what are you doing? Liberty's friend's like, no, I'm going to tell your mom. She goes up there to tell her mom. And Liberty just like goes to get something to eat from the refrigerator and just like listens from a vent. And then all of a sudden it just cuts to her being in the bed. And I'm like, at this point, I'm done. Y'all know how I am. I don't like weak female characters. And Liberty is just too weak for me. She's too weak for words. So I want her to die. Like, if you can't even woman up enough to tell your mom that this man that y'all don't even know that well is crazy and lick period blood, I just don't have anything else to root for you for, honestly. All of a sudden, Liberty's in her bed after her friend goes in there. It just cuts to her being in the bed. And apparently she's been asleep for hours. And I'm like, how? How? How do you zonk out like that after all of this drama has like transpired and your friend is up there telling your business? Like, nobody understands what this movie is trying to do. When she finally wakes up, her mom is mad at Liberty. She's mad at her because, her best friend told the truth. And John is like, no, this never happened. And the mom is like, I believe John. It isn't true. And it's only then that she tells her mom that he licked her blood. I'm sorry. Why are you not telling this to the police? Why are you not calling CPS? Like, your mom is stigmatized. She does not care about your blood. She does not care about the blood of Jesus. So she is going to take John's side. So why are you wasting your time? So at that point, Liberty gets upset and she reveals to John that her mom is older than what she said she was. And for some reason, out of all the things, like he has been called this, basically a a predator, and none of this stuff even makes him even remotely upset. But he finds out that this mom is in her 40s and he like flips the hell out. Like, of all the things, the mom being in her 40s instead of her 30s is what pisses him off to where he storms out of the room. What? Like, I needed some sort of like setup. Like, I need to know why he is so adamant about her being in her 30s. But there is no setup, there is no explanation because the filmmakers did not think it was important to explain this. So, in the meantime, Liberty sees John walk into the water at night, and there's like this little red light pulsating in the water. And even that is not even explained. Like, there is no explanation. And I'm not asking for an in-depth explanation. But what is this light? What are these sea creatures, these alien things want? Is John completely one of them, or is he a human that got turned into one? Does he still have some of his humanity left, or is this all about him completing this procreation mission or something? I mean, it seems like he does have a little bit of humanity there when he confesses to Liberty that he always seems to find a way to mess things up in his personal life. But, his work is the only thing that he seems to get right, the only thing that he feels confident in. But we just don't get a clear picture of who John is. And then Liberty's dumbass takes the car and drives it into the water like she's going to, I guess, access whatever this light is that came from the water. And then she is like surprised when the car isn't running anymore after she drives it into the water. Like, what the hell are you driving the car into the water for? I mean, you realize at this point that you are in a house with a man that is completely crazy and off and has touched your private parts and licked your blood. Like, why are you driving your only access to get out of this situation into the water? Like, who are these people? They can't be real. Like, I cannot accept that there is anyone on earth who would be making these types of dumb decisions like Liberty and her mom. So at this point, I'm done, y'all. Like, I am all team John at this point. I want him to kill them. I want him to take them. I just want him to do whatever his mission is and succeed and win, because these ladies don't deserve to live. You can't save her. She don't want to be saved. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. Just, ugh. They both stayed weak and they both stayed stupid the whole movie. She got her homegirl killed. The one who was actually the strong female ended up getting killed because of these stupid, weak women. This script, that it couldn't have been what they actually shot. Like, this had to be something where something went wrong in production and they just tried to salvage what was left. That had to be what happened. Like, this movie, as I was watching it, really felt like they were just like writing it maybe as they were filming it. Like, the director is just like, okay, mama, just be a hella desperate woman, and like the daughter just looks stupid and like do a whole bunch of stupid stuff that makes no sense. And that's how they did the movie. That's how it felt. Like, I just couldn't, man. And they were just like, John, just take your shirt off as many times as possible, and that's the story. The only saving grace for this movie was that everyone pretty much died at the end, and John was successful in his mission. Because again, I was all about Team John. But even these deaths made no sense. Like, John, I don't know what he did to the mama, but she deserved to die. I didn't even care how she died, actually. But then with Liberty, he like vomits this ball of light into her mouth, and then suddenly she's in a tank of water, and then it fills up, and she drowns. Like, where did this tank come from? Like, this was a whole different tank from the tanks that the mom was in. Like, this was a whole different setup. There were like several other women in, neighboring tanks just kind of floating. I'm presuming that they were dead. What is going on? And then I'm like, where did John go? Did he like go back to his planet? Is he back just, playing in the water? Why are these other women there? Why is he keeping them there? Like, are they just women that he used to try to procreate? also, but they look like they're dead. Like this movie had no purpose. And that is why this movie has got to be the worst movie released in 2020. Braden Miller, the writer, director, producer, I just have to tell you that I congratulate you for getting this film done and getting distribution. I do, because that is like a huge, huge thing. But this film is literally the worst. Like, it's so bad that I literally can only give it a -5 out of 10. It's literally that bad. I can't even give it a number on the positive end of the spectrum. And that is like never happened. But I don't even feel bad because this film left so many important questions unanswered that I feel like it's the only way. Like, what lies below? I'll tell you what lies below. The rating for this film is what lies below, okay? -5 below. So that's our show for today, y'all. I honestly feel like I cannot even recommend this movie to anybody else. It's just that bad. But I do want to dialogue with you guys, so I do want you to try to watch it. This movie I really can only recommend this movie for people who may be studying filmmaking or screenwriting, so that you can see what not to do when you are making a film. If you're like me and you have wasted 2 hours of your life watching this film already, let me know what you think. I was so disappointed. I'm upset right now. Like, this